Oh my god. I am stupid. I am. Okay. All right. Now we're working. Now we're cooking with gas. Um. Jeez. Yeah, I need to get better at this streaming thing. Um. So I got. So kind of going back to what we were doing initially. Let's see if I can't re-square up some of these tabs. Okay, there we go. I think my mic's hello. All right, so I think my mic's fine now. All right, so kind of the discourse on my page that I kind of started to run with a little bit, um, kind of jumped out at me with this with this new property that Catalyst has picked up, which they can totally support and totally give a large level of support to, and this is going to be a going concern for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, so it's like just one thing after another. You think they're done with Kickstarters, and this one thing right after another. So, and then we got this nice announcement from Catalyst. He Who Fights Monsters RPG and board games on the way from Catalyst Game Labs. So if that phrase doesn't strike fear into your fucking heart, I don't know what does. Grab some spirit coins, unlock new essences, and head for the nearest gateway to astral space because Catalyst Game Labs is partnering with Travis Shirtaloon Deverell to bring the best-selling He Who Fights Monsters lit RPG to your table. So I need to get my eyes checked because when I first saw this, I thought this said Shitaloon, which was like, okay, it's kind of a bold choice for a nickname, but hey. With 12 epic books already released and a 13th soon to come, He Who Fights with Monsters tells how Australian office supply worker Jason Asano is transported to the world of Palimustus and quickly learns the ways of becoming an adventurer and fighting the monsters that regularly appear. The books include compelling characters, fast-paced action, and of course, a whole host of ways to fight monsters, making them great for tabletop excitement. So, considering that this dude's from Australia and that he's probably given himself a nickname, this sounds like some sort of weird self-insert isekai. So, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him. Catalyst plans to publish a tabletop role-playing game, a new board game to help players get into the action. The RPG will use Catalyst's Dice Core role-playing system, modified in a way to build power as they go from iron rank to bronze and beyond, becoming increasingly powerful as they fight. 3 books are all currently planned: a core rulebook, a monster guide, of course, and a guide to the world and societies in it, including the all-important Adventure Society. You're telling me all this, and I just don't care because I've never heard of this. So, the board game is a competitive game where teams of adventurers fight monsters. Set in Greenstone and surrounding areas, players must balance their resources to train their teams, acquire more gear, and beat other players to the monsters springing up all over the realm. The entire Catalyst team is excited about the partnership. I'm a huge fan of the fiction, said Lauren Coleman, who apparently is not a big fan of the fiction of Battletech. Catalyst president, said Lauren Coleman, Catalyst president and porch enthusiast. Jason Asano is witty, sarcastic, occasionally overbearing, and usually irreverent, but always and foremost a hero. Travis has created something special, and I can't wait to fight monsters. This sounds like D&D with an isekai element. Like, what are we doing? Be the first to sign up for more information about these games by visiting this link and joining the mailing list, and be ready for alpha playtest rules to be released when Gen Con starts on July 30th. So, apparently they flew this dude in from Australia to be at their booth at Gen Con. So that's again a set of choices to make, I guess. So that's pretty funny to me. That makes me laugh. If they're going to do that, and then we go to this guy's actual webpage. Excuse me. So yeah, it's just it's just an RPG. So it's a series of books, and it's like, who cares? Nobody. This means nothing to me. This is just like a D&D knockoff with a self-insert bend to it. So, and I kind of wondered what the pitch to this guy was. Like, yo, dog, do you want to join our stable of other unsupported Kickstarters that we totally don't follow up on? And I got the old noggin jogging, and with the help of a friend of mine, he helped construct this little thing, which is very, very telling. What's funny is that we had the Clan Invasion Kickstarter, and this happened like literally during COVID, and they still did a better job delivering it. And there's still a bunch of stuff missing from the Mercenaries campaign, and then Shadowrun Takedown, that's a mess. Frostpunk and Voltron are still largely undelivered. I'm mad because I forgot to get Leviathans in here, because I think Leviathans is super, super telling, because we're coming up on the third 3-year anniversary of that one, baby. Let's go. So 3 years going strong on the Kickstarter platform for Leviathans. I got a question, so obviously people were upset. I think a lot of people were just like, yo, this is kind of scummy. Is this for real? It's like, yep, every word. And let's see. Find some choice comments, because some of these comments are just retarded. So this guy, he keeps jumping in to my comments. I don't know what his point is on following me or just pinging me and just bothering me, because he is literally making the worst points of possible. So either you or your friends are chartered accountants. I don't need an accounting degree to use my eyes and read. So it's like, bro, just look at the evidence. And then, but you do need one for credibility. So it's like, well, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. I'm simply presenting the information. The information is freely available to anyone who wants to find it, and speaks for itself regardless of my individual credibility or lack thereof. Not sure where this appeal to authority or education comes from. As to my credentials, I have a degree in business administration. I've been working in finance banking for the last 18 years. So when people are like, "Oh, you're just a nobody. You don't know anything. You're just a scumbag," and it's like, bro, I'm speaking from a position of knowledge, because everything that you're saying goes against good business and good just common sense. So the fact that these persist to be an issue, and then on top of that, we've got Takedown, Voltron, Frostpunk. Both of these are kind of vaporware still after about a year and some change. Then this one's still pending hitting retail. Allegedly, this one says launching soon. I have no idea when they first fired this one up, but this one's been languishing. And then Partha Wars, the one that they were talking about. Oh yeah, no, we're gonna do Partha Wars, blah blah blah. And this is again just vaporware. And it's never been complete. I believe they announced this at the tail end of the Battletech Mercenaries Kickstarter. And Then on top of that, we've got the My Hero Academia Kickstarter supposedly dropping this year, which they're going to get eaten alive in the comments. Just as soon as they drop, you're going to see a ton of people back in $1 and just smoke them like a cheap cigar. It's going to be quite funny. And then, pursuant to that, they're like, hey, we're going to start doing monthly updates on all of our Kickstarters. It's like, well, so it's July and this hasn't been updated since May. This has been May and there hasn't been no update since May. No update since May. No update since May. And then the two vaporware Kickstarters that haven't appeared yet. So I don't know what their sales pitch to the Shirtaloon dude was. Like, yo, dog, do you want to help us launder some money real quick? Like, I just don't understand. So how you can have this many Kickstarters under your belt and still struggle with these issues. Like, at this point, you should have figured it out. Like, this should not be a problem. Especially for as long as they've been doing this, because this is just inexcusable. So I think it's crazy that this tag right here, repeat creator, that's radioactive to me. Gambit Raven, no. I would most definitely love to get a new steward for Battletech, that's for sure. Yeah, William, people, they affect this air of superiority and just like, well, who are you to say? Who are you to talk about this kind of stuff? And it's like, well, besides a concerned fan that has invested in Battletech previously, most recently the Clan Invasion Kickstarter, thank God they canceled my pledge for the Mercenaries thing, because I made a crack about their Chinese factory. Like, that was unironically a blessing in disguise. So I thought that was, so honestly, they kind of did me a favor there. But I also wanted to talk about, kind of other Kickstarters and my experience with them, because I think it's interesting to see why certain projects fail and why certain projects did not. Gambit Raven, yeah, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, that would be the dream, right? If you hit that Mega Millions for a cool billion and just say Catalyst, like, yo, dog, I'll just buy you out. That would be ideal. But I wanted to, just in the realm of like talking about Kickstarters, I actually backed this way back in the day. This was 2018. Yeah. It's funny because this was a system that I backed, and I still have the rule book sitting on my shelf. And the rules for this are legitimately very, very, very good. It is a damn tragedy that things happened the way that they did. And it's just sad. So what happened with this is they kind of did the overpromise they overpromised and basically failed to deliver. They hit a $1.4 million, which was incredible money back then as far as these Kickstarters go. So you had all these different stretch goals unlocked and all this additional stuff. It's, oh, that's really cool, whatever. And it's like, damn, that's really impressive. And the miniature kits were actually, I really liked them. They were super detailed and over-engineered, but that was a fact that they were working with a company called Ninja Division, and Ninja Division were kind of like these hotshot consultants and whatnot, and basically fucked him left and left him holding the bag for this entire thing. So Ninja Division kind of like did half their job, or where trying to get the communication to the factory, and then after that they just they just dipped out. They're like, we fulfilled our contract to the letter. We're gonna leave. We're done. So of course they did that and left, Palladium Games holding the bag. So they had to basically go over. They basically had to re-engineer all these files again with the manufacturer, and that's why you get. And that's why you got these horribly complicated miniatures, as far as like from a design perspective. They're really fiddly, but at the same time the detail was really quite incredible. I really liked them. The rules were exceptional. I really enjoyed them. The only thing that probably didn't work really well with this rule set was the clunky nature of the blast template stuff, and that was eventually patched. That was fixed. But man, this was a game that hurt when they said that this was not going to get fulfilled all the way down, and it also hurt that Palladium lost the license to this, meaning this is the only time we're ever going to get like a legitimate miniatures game, because we had that one weird flight path version with like the really rinky-dink resin models that Ares Games and Miniatures was carrying for a while. That one kind of exploded and went under. So man, it was sad. It was tough for me. And it's really funny because their warehouse is not too far from where my office was, when this was pre-COVID, working, from an office. So they were like, hey, if you guys want to help us out so we don't have to pack, and because they actually have a warehouse. The Palladium Games actually has the warehouse, and they handle all their shipping and stuff like that in-house, which is like, that's incredible. So Kevin Sembieta, the owner, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, he was like, hey, if you're in Michigan or if you're in the tri-state area, ping us, DM us, and we'll see if we can't have you just pick up your pledge. So I woke up, so I pinged him. They said, sure, no problem. I reached out, agreed on a date and a time, went to their warehouse in, I can't remember where it was, and met with Kevin, met with the office manager guy that was kind of the Brent Evans equivalent of, like, he was just, the dude that kind of kept the trains on time. And I said, it seems like you guys have had a really hard time. And it was interesting because Kevin was really open and honest with me. He was like, look, we had this contract with Ninja Division, and they fulfilled it, but then they didn't do any sort of transition. So they were just like, okay, we did the thing that we were going to say to do, and they just, didn't give them anything to follow up and actually complete, the process with the manufacturer, where they had to like start over again. So I thought that was like, damn, this is one of those ones where it was like, really, like, choose your partners wisely. But yeah, this rule set was really fun, and you can still find some of these some of the plastic kits for like a song on, let's see, yeah, new and shrink wrap, $120. Let's see, tactics, images. Like, the miniatures were really quite exceptional, because I know a lot of people that, like, when they got them, they were just like, yo dog, let's use these for BattleTech. And that's actually what a lot of guys did, is they just like straight up just used it for BattleTech, which is like, oops, yeah, no, why wouldn't you? So this was really exceptional. And again, it was like, it's just sad that this happened to Sad that this happened to Palladium because this led to their license for Robotech getting yoinked, and now it exists only as an RPG. I can't remember who actually runs the RPG, but it's just sad. It's just tragic. Yeah, if you can, you just go to eBay. If you want some of these miniatures, you probably get some really good, stingers and wasp mechs for, as well as unseen destroyed stuff for to kind of pad out your battle mech lances. So might be worth doing. Um, so let's see, where are we at here? All right. So I think we covered all the main stuff that I wanted to talk about with regards to um, the Kickstarter and this new property and stuff like that. You made your own Grey Death Force Pack. What would you pick? What would you pick, Shadowhawk and Marauder? I think if you were going to do like a Grey Death Legion, Decision at Thunder Rift style Lance pack, it would be Marauder, Shadowhawk, Davis McCall's Rifleman, and either probably a Locust or Larry Calmer, however you pronounce the name. Yeah, Alex. So back in 2018, a company here in Michigan called Palladium Games, they actually had this. They published for a really long time the Robotech RPG. They had the rights to it from Harmony Gold or whoever. However, this rat's nest of licensing works for Robotech or Macross. So they had a license to distribute Robotech related content as far as like tabletop gaming and whatnot, so for the RPG. And then what they did is they turned it into a full blown tabletop war game. And man, I really liked these rules. These rules were exceptional. I really enjoyed them. They were great. Um, they were good. And unfortunately, this became a victim of its own success because kind of earlier in the talk in the live here, basically they partnered with a company called Ninja Division, and Ninja Division basically left them holding the bag, kind of with job half done, and they had to basically redo all the work that that Ninja Division did because of the nature of the conversations, kind of their back and forth with them. So, and this ended up dying and not being fulfilled completely, because basically what they were like, oh, okay, we're going to do two waves. Wave one is the basic stuff like the Veritex, the Zentradi, the Regalts, the Glogs, the Destroids, that kind of stuff. We're gonna start with that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the profits from those sales to help fund the second wave, which of course didn't happen, unfortunately. And they basically said, hey, we're not going to be able to deliver the rest of these rewards, so we'll just give you additional wave one product for it, which they could have just said, sorry, store's closed, but they didn't do that, and they instead kind of released more product. Which the good thing is that you can find these miniatures like for a song pretty much anywhere on eBay and pretty much wherever. So if you ever get a chance to even like look at this rule book was fun. This was a great set of rules. This I think it's through PG. I wonder. I guess they don't. I guess they don't have that stuff on Drive-Through RPG anymore. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that sucks. Oh well, because they had a bunch of Drive-Through RPG content. I'm sure. I'm sure there's probably some. Oh, dude, totally. I'm sure there's some sketchy Serbian websites you can find the downloads on. If you're brave and you have a good antivirus. Um, but yeah, if you ever get a chance, these adventures, they're pretty big as far as like compared to the new scale of BattleTech stuff. But if you're just playing classic BattleTech, where like the mech is a marker and it's not like doesn't really matter how physically big the miniature is, as long as you jam it onto a hex base, I would recommend these because these are some great LAMs. Because this was actually the art that BattleTech used initially for their LAMs, along with a lot of this Robotech Macross stuff. That's why you have the unseen rifleman, the unseen warhammer, all that kind of stuff because of the rights issues. Basically, a guy sold FASA, the original rights holders to BattleTech, the license to use this art in their projects. And it turns out this guy didn't have the authority to do so, and so there was a huge lawsuit between Harmony Gold that had the rights allegedly and FASA, the company that owned BattleTech, created BattleTech, and there was a big legal clash, and they ended up not being able to use that art in future products. So they could still reference the mechs, but they couldn't show any pictures of them. Thus, then they became unseen. That's where you get the term, unseen. And then you get Project Phoenix, which was a fan pro technical readout that reintroduced these unseen mechs into the Jihad FedCom timeline, Federated Commonwealth Jihad timeline, with new technology and a new look, and they were not attractive machines. Let me actually see. We're tangenting, multi-tab drifting. TRO Project Phoenix. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, old but gold. So this is a Phoenix Hawk, if you can believe that. And in retrospect, like a lot of people were just like, "Damn, that's a Marauder. That shit ain't a Marauder. That's ugly." What's interesting is that a lot of these configurations they actually go really hard in the paint. Like for example, this 5M Locust. It's 130, 190, so it's 12.8. 4 tons of what's it got? It's got 4 tons of ferro. It's got a medium laser and 4 small lasers. It's basically a Locust 2C in all but name. So that one, the new Stinger, is a rocket to the face splat boat with, again, using ferrofibrous. It's 696. The Wasp's the 3L. It's got stealth armor and a rocket launcher 10. The art for the Marauder has grown on me after a while, and they did something clever here. So that they did redid all the art for the Valkyrie and all this stuff. And like I said, most of the configurations they actually go really hard, and they're actually really great mechs. The 4L Phoenix Hawk is actually is a monster. It's 8 tons of stealth armor, 696. large laser, 2 medium lasers, 2 machine guns, and it's got stealth armor and an ECM. So it's just beastly, and it's kind of got the cool Cobra Commander thing working for it. And then the Griffin, again, it's got a supplementary medium laser. It's got 2 medium lasers actually, PPC case, double heat sinks. Pretty sure. I think it's Ferro. I don't think it's Ferro. Yeah, I don't think it's Ferro. They even brought in the Scorpion. Like, Like seriously, who the hell plays a Scorpion? And then the Shadowhawk 5D. This one is a pisser. This one is hilarious. It's the Rack 5 with two medium lasers and a Streak SRM4, 9.5 tons of ferrofibrous 585. It will haunt you long after you think it should be dead. This thing's main problem, which I've actually encountered a couple of one of my opponents on the game tabletop, he actually ran this thing out of ammo. He just ran this thing dry because he was like, as soon as he got into range, he was like dropping 6 shots at me every turn, and eventually, and within about 4 or 5 was 6, 12, 18, 24, 36. So basically 6 rounds of shooting, and he was dry, and he had to close. Critters of Macross gave the okay for FAMSA to use the design, but the producers, Tatsunoko, gave the rights to Harmony, I believe, which caused... That's what it was. Yeah, thank you, William Zova. That's what it was. It's just this big Gordian knot of license bullshit, which seems to define BattleTech in pretty much any era that it's in. So yeah, the Wolverine was really good. It's kind of got the little samurai armor thing going on for it. Like, none of these designs were bad redesigns or reload outs for the Mac. This thing was a monster. This thing was spooky. It's got, so it can fire both Rack 5s. Let's see if I can zoom in here. So each arm has 3 tons of Rack 5 ammo. So if you just like jam your finger down on the fire button, you've got, let's see, so 120. So you're sending 120 rounds downrange over the course of 10 turns. If you always have a firing solution on somebody, and there's no reason why you shouldn't, you can just have your fingers pinned down to the triggers and just burn people down with this thing. It's got 12 tons of armor, which I don't think it's ferro, and it's also 464. So it's like, this is the gold standard for riflemen, if you ask me. It's got 22 low double heat sinks. Thanks, Bloodsy. But yeah, we're basically briefly touching on the tragedy of the Robotech RPG Kickstarter, as well as the nature of the unseen, and how this yeah, exactly. Dr. Banzai Frost is, we're finally I gotta, I'll wrap this up, but we've almost got to old Tom Frost. We're almost getting to our first official Tom Frost appearance, and besides the prologue. But yeah, it's funny, just a lot of these designs that were kind of a way to bring oh wow, I didn't even know that part of it. Williams, that's wild. But yeah, I just wanted to wax lyrical about this because, again, the RPG Tactics Kickstarter is one of those Kickstarters that shouldn't have bombed the way that it did, but I think a lot of external factors played a role in causing it to die. So, RIP RPG Tactics. But again, you can buy these miniatures for a song pretty much anywhere online, like eBay, whatever. Yeah, Lexington. That's what I think. I think a lot of those re-scenes, they've grown on me after a while, and I can't tell if they've grown on me from an affection for them, or they've grown on me like a fungus. I don't know yet. So, but yeah. So I was kind of citing this as an example of scale creep and over ambition, and basically poor partner picking, being the cause of the demise of one Kickstarter, versus Catalyst Game Labs, which just apparently can't seem to get all their shit in one sock. So, and that, which is a consistent problem. get them across now because, oh, nice. All right. Sweet. But yeah, so that's that. But now for the main event. I've been reading 3 chapters at a clip, and 3 chapters at a clip is actually really easy because these chapters are like they're short. They're like absurdly short. I don't understand why they're this short. So where we last left our intrepid heroes. Yeah, true and real Lexington. So, Ghost of Timkovichi. So, in the prologue, Calendar Kell goes to Timkovichi, meets Brian Young's self-insert old Tom Frost, running, trying to write music in a dead city because he's a fucking ghoul. And he says, "Are you here to liberate the planet?" And she goes, "Lol, no." Drops off a monument and leaves, despite the fact she brought a fortress dropship and troops that would be enough to raffle stomp the half dozen Jade Falcons on the planet that were probably still left, right? So, but then again, we wouldn't have a book if she did that, but apparently we needed to have this book, so she just left. The next chapter see Colonel Mallory, who is a capable, in extra strength air quotes, tactician working for a pharmaceutical company to run out the remaining Falcons on a planet called Kirkcaldy, so the Steiners can put chemicals in the water to turn the friggin' Trinos gay. The next chapter sees the 3 remaining SIB cadets. They capture the 3 remaining SIB cadets on the planet, and as they're organizing to leave, they get a message from the mother hen calling her chicks home because the Ghost Dogs were originally Kellhound Battalion. Before the Jade Falcons raffle stomped the Kellhounds, and basically, like, we're told, like, hey, if you fly our colors, y'all are probably gonna die because the Jade Falcons are just that vindictive. So after this happens, Mallory tells his crew of short bus pass holders that the Ghost Dogs are actually the Kellhounds. Dun dun dun. Let's see if I have a. Nope, I don't have an appropriate sound for that. Hello. Where was I? So Mallory shows up on Ark Royal, and he's given his mission: liberate Timkovichi and kind of let them determine their own fate, whether as an independent planet or part of the Ark Royal Defense Coalition. And then he's told that his son wants to join the unit. Calendar doesn't give his son his mech, and just like sends him to his dad. Why? Don't know. So he reunites with his son. This causes a bunch of angst because he's written like a woman and refuses to take accountability and is conflict avoidant, which are perfect traits for an officer of a mercenary company. Hank then finds out that the Steiners are already moving in on Timkovichi as they're in transit, and the Jade Falcons are there waiting, just sharpening their knives. So no one knows if the planet's fallen to the Steiners, if it's still in the claws of the Falcons, or if the conflict has yet happened. So they have 9 days after they've heard all of this, and they have hit dirt side on the planet and don't have any plans, which is fantastic. That's the best, that they don't have any plans despite having like a week of prep time. So that leads us up to chapter 9, the Flame Keepers. I love one of the things. I don't know if this is a self-aware Brian Young thing or if he's just this terrible of a writer, but he points out his own plot holes. So chapter 9, Flame Keepers, Radagast, Timkovichi, the Hinterlands, 26th August, 3152. Hank needed to come up with a plan. Fast. You wouldn't need to come up with a plan fast if you spent a week planning for these contingencies, dum-dum. The trouble was the Lyrans were coming in force from the south, and the mystery unit was coming in from the east. So basically what they say is like, okay, we've got, we land, There's 5 mechs. That's clearly the Jade Falcons. Then we see another 4 mechs that we don't know about, and then there's some vehicles that appear to be some sort of mercenary unit, right? So you have this, and this is the first time that those 4 mechs that are crowding in on are proactively identified as Lyran. They are not identified as Lyran before this point, even though they were talked about in the prior chapters. So it's like the author was assuming we knew the mechs were Lyran as opposed to, affiliated with whatever this mercenary unit is, because that was the leap that I made, is that I'm like, okay, so we have the 4 mechs crowding in, and maybe this mercenary unit is trying to do a hook maneuver. And instead, this mercenary unit is established. This unknown unit is established as complete unknown. So great storytelling, A plus. So he's thinking about if I attack the Jade Falcons, they're going to come after us and they're not going to care about civilian casualties because Jade Falcons, blah blah blah. He has trauma. He's reliving his trauma. It really depended on how much each enemy cared about preserving the city. If the ghost dogs could make sure the opposing sides the opposing sides knew they would only be hurting civilians, it could end the conflict, right? At least where the Lyrans were concerned. Based on all his experience with Jade Falcons, the last thing they'd care about was saving the lives of civilians, especially on Timkovichi. Hank shuddered. He had to close his eyes and breathe through the moment. Guys, he has trauma. He has trauma. Oh my god, he has trauma. I love this line because it's indicative of how poorly this character is written. When he cleared the tension in his chest, he activated his command line. We're holding on action for now. I'm open to suggestions on next steps. The only thing anyone knows is that we've got some tanks in the city they could belong to anybody. So you are crowdsourcing your battle plan to your NCOs or lieutenants in his particular case, when you should have had this planned out on the trip to the planet. Why is this difficult? So yes. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, that hospital I just kicked down, that was saving saving the environment because it reduced its carbon footprint of all the people in that building. So, and they basically have this. He has this back and forth with one of his commanders, Rufo, and he's like, "We've got some tanks in the city. They could belong to anybody. They have Ghost Dogs logos on them," Colonel Rufo reminded him. But that didn't matter, and Mallory knew it. Did you recognize the other unit's logo? No. Exactly. You think anybody knows the Ghost Dogs unless they've gone up against us before? It's not like we're boasting Kellhound's logos and paint schemes. So he's relying on the enemy being confused about who is who, and particularly caring about that, especially considering how that. So I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. He has no plan. Although if they were Kellhounds, at least visually, maybe the Lyrans would think twice about attacking them, based purely on their reputation, just as Morgan and Patrick Kell had intended. You keep saying that, but I'm pretty sure you just made that shit up. Ordinarily, I'd suggest issuing a batch-all against the Jade Falcons, Raven said. I don't think that'll stop the Lyrans or our mystery mercs. There's no guarantee these Falcons would accept a batch-all from mercenaries. Yeah, they're not. So good call. So they're going through all this rigmarole, and just coming up with this plan on the fly when they should have had one to start with. Um, and meanwhile, his XL Ilsa has his son riding in her mech because the plot needs that to happen. So he basically, you know, does a wideband message saying, "Hey, everybody, stay off. This is our turf." And again, it's really funny that his son keeps pointing out, like, oh, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, it gets next chapter. He actually points out this plot hole of his dad, like being a window-looking idiot. So he encounters the Jade Falcons, and the Jade Falcons, come out and say, "We will possess the city and maintain control of it. This is our world, and your presence here is an act of hostility. Like the Lyrians from before, you will be forced off this planet with extreme prejudice." Hank counted the mechs advancing from the north that they tagged as Jade Falcons one more time. The mech warrior's name is Coot, by the way, Coote. I don't know if I'm supposed to pronounce that differently, but it's Coot. Mech warrior Coot, he said, wondering why there wasn't anyone of higher rank leading this charge. "Unless I misunderstand, you still only have one lance to my entire company. So unless you set an ambush I don't know about, we're staying put." Why would you say that? Why would you tip off your enemy that you know that they're that you know that they know that you know that they're probably leading you into a trap? Like, this is just like, hey, step off. You don't have the firepower for this fight. But it turns out his light lance is staring down a Gyrfalcon. Let's see. A Gyrfalcon, a Jade Hawk, a pair of Mad Cats, and a Hellstar. So yeah, no, they've absolutely got the firepower to ruin your fucking day, and only by plot contrivance do they not just get raffle stomped by these Jade Falcons. So basically, the Jade Falcons are coming in. The Ghost Dogs are sniping at them because for some reason this lance that Hank is leading has like 3 Wolfhounds, and at long range they're just cycling their ER large lasers, which would be like throwing rocks at a tank. So, and again, they're facing, heavy clan spec weaponry. Yeah, I didn't hear no bell. So they're fighting clan warriors, clan spec weaponry. Excuse me, clan spec weaponry, and they're basically getting picked apart by a lance of light mechs. So as they're picking at these Jade Falcons, and Jade Falcons apparently they just suck. They just suck because the plot needs them to be bad. They keep sniping and doing all this stuff, and then he says he transmits to the mech warrior, "Had enough, mech warrior Coot? Because I guarantee it's going to keep going like this till you're dead or retreating." "We are Jade Falcons," Coot shouted. "We do not retreat." Hank sighed. He'd been afraid that they were going to say that. "Millennial writing strikes again." Ugh. I was afraid you were going to say that. Shut the fuck up. Damn this book. Chapter 10. Dare me to jump. Go ahead and jump. Radagast, Timkovichi, The Hinterlands, 26th August, 3152. Raven was surprised. So basically, they're fighting these He's Lyran's off, and Keith Mallory is in the back of this Raven lady's cockpit in the rumble seat, and he says, "Is the Colonel usually this hands off?" Keith Mallory asked. "He trusts us to get our jobs done. It's not just that he's so absorbed with what he's doing." So he's basically like, he is again as pointing out that my dad doesn't have a fucking plan, and he's just making this shit up as he goes along. Like, there's a certain amount of like, okay, I have a plan. This is how the plan is going to go into effect, and then given certain circumstances, we're going to respond to it this, that, or the other way. He's making shit up on the fly. So she's fighting, she knocks down a Star Slayer, and she's fighting a dervish, and the boy is in the back. Mind you, he's like 35 or 30, right? And he's a Hellhound officer, and he's just giving like this poor woman a running commentary. "Another hit like that won't do anyone any favors," Keith said. For a split second, Raven thought it was the Colonel himself. They had the same tone when they were laying down the gallows humor. It was obnoxious when the Colonel did it, and doubly so when his son, in her very cockpit, did it too. "We can it back there. I'm trying to concentrate." So far, this Raven character is the only one that has any common fucking sense where, like, look, I'm trying not to die here. Shut your goddamn pie hole. So she kind of has this moment of, like, oh no, I told the boss's kid to shut up. Oh my god. Oh, I gotta not die and not kill him too. Blah, 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 blah. So she's going through this in her head, still like squaring off against these Lyran units, and she's doing the damn thing. And then that brings us to chapter 11. The dogs are barking. So basically, the Alpha Lance with this Raven character in it, she manages to down 2 of the Lyran mechs and is kind of keeping the other 2 contained. And the vehicles are more or less, just ignoring her, for lack of a better term. So she's kind of successfully managed to herd the Lyrans out, and then so did Hank Mallory, was able to do that against the Jade Falcons. He shouldn't have, because he literally doesn't have the firepower to kill any of these clan mechs before these clan mechs would just raffle stomp them into the ground. But the plot needs them to survive. So the Jade Falcons fall back, trying to retreat, because the warrior Coot, he lost an arm and on his mech, and he's like, they're retreating because the plot needs them to retreat. So they stop short. They each stopped short of passing the main road that rang the city, or even crossing the maglev track that ran on the inside of the main highway. But the Jade Falcon mechs receded into the night without taking any major losses. They'd probably have that Falcon's arm fixed by morning light, ready to attack the next time they crawled out of the woodwork. "I don't trust it, Colonel," Ilsa said. "Why would they just leave? They know they're outgunned, and after they get through us, they'd still have to fight the Lyrans." So that's actually a valid point, but at the same time, like, a Hellstar, 2 Mad Cats, a Falcon, and what was the other one? The other mech, I can't remember what it was just now. They would have absolutely had the firepower to deal with that lance and still make a good showing against 4 machines from the Lyran Commonwealth that are all categorically lighter than they were. So it's like, what are we doing? This doesn't make this making that statement makes no logical sense. So they kind of go back and forth and about like, hey, they should, aren't they just going to throw their lives away, or aren't they going to fight, blah blah blah. So he says, "I need an opinion from your observers." So because they crammed the SIB cadets into tanks to see how they would perform under fire, despite the fact that they literally fought them and shot them out of their mechs in like the preceding chapters. I don't know. So, Chiang Mai, that's the oldest Sib cadet. They basically say, "Hey, are we? At what point would the Jade Falcon forces withdraw rather than fight to the death? Are we looking at a trap?" Chiang Mai's young voice, filled his ears. "Traps are unbecoming of clan warriors, Colonel. Give me something more detailed than that, Private. I need analysis, not a slogan." So, looking at the battle distribution, it would seem retreat is the likely option. I doubt they are coming back or baiting a trap. If this planet is anything like Kirkcaldy, then they were merely left what is left after the Khan emptied the planet. He would have taken everything of value. On Kirkcaldy, we were instructed to use guerrilla tactics. The actions of these Falcons here would comport with such a desperate situation where personal honor is bound more to keeping the planet than achieving glory in battle. So it's like, all right, so we actually have like a character moment. You know, this Chiang Mai is actually having like she's like, yeah, no, this is, you know, when we got left, we were told, you know, hold until relieved, basically. And these Jade Falcons are doing the same thing. It's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes good sense. So after this, they're kind of taking stock and figuring out, you know, who's got what going on. And Raven's Lance didn't. So basically, they had 2 mechs with jump jets from the Lyrans that are kind of like playing rooftop dancer on top, fiddler on the roof with these guys, trying to avoid going down to street level and squaring off. And the mechs that they're fighting don't have any jump jets, so that actually, again, that's actually a wise choice if you're outnumbered and you have that mobility advantage. Just like, I'm not going to come down to the street, especially if these buildings are full of civilians. You're not going to risk nuking a building to get at me. So that's actually good sense on their part. So I like that. So he's getting a report, and Raven says, we've eliminated 2 of the 4 Lyran mechs. The remaining half their lances were taken to the rooftops. Hank knew where this was going. Raven's lance didn't have any jump-capable mechs to give pursuit. We can be there shortly to mop up and support. Not necessary, sir. I just wanted to let you know we have handled it. Your son actually came up with the plan. So, again, you have the author undercutting his main character by having his son appear to be more competent and capable than his father. So, it's like, wow. Your son actually came up with the plan. We've got the exit routes from their building covered, and we are outside of their effective line of sight. We're waiting for them to come down or play hopscotch on the roofs and leave. So that's actually, again, the son is making, you know, good calls, good decisions. It's like, why is he better than the dad? Why is his dad, like, has his dad lost his edge? Has he become too timid? Like, was he not this guy before this, you know, Timkovichi, and then like he kind of considered himself washed up? Don't know. So he's kind of going back and forth, and, you know, kind of squaring off against all this stuff. And then, as he watched all the telemetry data of the conflict to the south coming in, and the Jade Falcons fade into the dwindling night, horrible squelching static roared over his comm. Hank grabbed for his ears in shock. What the? But the noise evened out after a second, and a voice sounded on the open frequencies, all of them. It was the short sort of voice that would make him think it was being dragged through sand and nails. Wood smoked and raspy. Is this the Kellhounds? Hank blinked. Who is this? This is the Troubadour. Nobody calls you that. Pleased to meet you. Now, if this is the Kellhounds, I think it might be time I meet up with your leader. There's a place I know here in Radagast. I'll send the coordinates and location in a coded tight beam. You get me, friends? Hank let out a deep, exhausted breath. This was going to be one of those sorts of missions. Awaiting your signal. I'll be with you as soon as we're done with mop-up operations. Signals away. I'm looking forward to it. So basically, he's describing Tex from Tex Talks Battletech. And that is... Oh, no, I should have read one more chapter, because the first line has Old Tom Frost in it. No! Come on. Oh, well, I'm afraid I'm just going to have to blue ball you guys until next week. Oh, man, this book is... I have no words. It's just like constant bad decisions, plot contrivance, things happening because the plot needs them to happen, not because that they are a consequence of actions taken earlier or later in the story. It's just like, bro, what are we doing? What are we doing here, man? This is dire. Oh, man. But, yeah, so that was chapters. Yeah, it was chapters 9 to 11. So that was the Flame Keepers, Dare Me to Jump, and the Dogs Are Barking. Yeah, no, dude, absolutely. It reads like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's like there's no through line of like consequence for what's going on with this book, or for anybody that's actually taking any sort of actions that are influencing the plot. Like those Jade Falcons, like, let's be real. If they wanted their ass, they could have had their ass. Because that lance was like 3 wolfhounds. I can't remember what the 4th mech in his command lance is, and his vehicles were too far away to help him. The Lyrans were squaring off against the guys on his Bravo lance on the other side of the city. His tanks were just, keeping tabs on these strange mercenaries that popped up. And especially if you're a clan warrior, Saloma or not, like, you could be like a clan Saloma warrior that's half in the bag could have read that battle space and been like, no, we can absolutely have their ass. We'll just start knocking down buildings. Let's use our energy weapons to start knocking down buildings. That's going to prompt them to action. They're going to jump out to face us to prevent civilian casualties. And then we're going to just kill them in open. And we're just going to kill them in the open. Like, that's what they could have done. And if they took too much damage doing that, they could have said, you know what? We did our part for king and country. We nuked this obnoxious light lance. We're going to fall back. We're going to repair. We're going to come back. We're going to come back and rinse and repeat tomorrow, because they have the mass. They absolutely have the mass to kill. That's what it was. It was 3 wolfhounds and a Valkyrie. So they absolutely had the mass and the firepower between a Vapor Hawk, I think it was. What was it? It was... Yeah, so the Jade Falcons were... There's a Jer Falcon, a Hellstar. The Hellstar, the 95-ton assault mech that has 4 ERPPCs and enough heat sinks to cycle them. A Jade Hawk and 2 Mad Cats. Like, bro, what? So the 2 Mad Cats, that's 150 tons. Then Hellstar, that's 295. And then the Jer Falcon, that's 355. So they have almost triple the throw weight on the field. They have almost triple the throw weight on the field as compared to 3 wolfhounds and a Valkyrie that they were squaring up against. Like, that makes no goddamn sense. Like, if I'm that clanner and I'm in a Falcon, the first thing I'm doing is taking to the rooftops. Because I don't care how good of a pilot you are, how dodgy you are, you can dodge around corners all you want. I'll stand on top of the building and snipe at you. Or I'll jump, I'll go, a couple hundred meters down the street, jump on a building, and just start enfilading you every time you try to cross the street. And then have, full court press from my heavy mechs and just run a grid pattern to, run you out or run you further into the city until you're smashed up against your other units that are still fighting the Lyrans that are, and they're not engaging, but they're also not friendly to this unknown unit that's mostly vehicles. Like if I'm Clanner and I'm reading that battle space, that's absolutely what I would have done. I would have said, you know what, Jade Hawk and me, we're gonna hop on these buildings and we're just gonna start pissing fire on these guys' heads until they leave or we kill them. And if you start to take too much damage and you're worried about it and you're from a resource perspective because these guys are kind of on the bones of their ass, which is a reasonable assumption, then you can just say, you know what, we've done more damage to these guys, because like one PPC hit from that Hellstar would have ruined quite a bit of those mechs. Like the Timberwolves, assuming that they're primes because he doesn't say that they're anything other than they're not primes. He would have those mechs would have had a bad goddamn day. Like it would have been bad. So it's like bro moment. And the fact that the book insists on lining it up to where, like, hey, these characters don't know what we established that the colonel in charge of the unit, the Hank Mallory character, didn't know anything. He's dumb. He's dumb as shit. He has no goddamn plan. He got a week of prep time to figure out all the contingencies for this and to establish an actual plan to do their job, and he just didn't do it. And now he's flying by the seat of their pants, and he's fighting clanners that are probably just as old as he is and probably just as experienced, if not more so. And then you have, the Lyrans that nobody knows what they're going to do, and then they find out. And then there's this unknown merc unit that is running tanks and vehicles that are nominally friendly with the Lyrans. So you've got Lyrans, you've got mercenaries, so you're outnumbered just on that aspect between the Lyrans and the mercs. And then you have these Jade Falcons that probably, that one star probably has the same mass as like a lance and a half of your own. And just, this is not believable. Like from a battle, like if I'm a BattleTech player and I'm analyzing that battle, even just as a BattleTech player analyzing that battle space, like, okay, I have 5 vastly superior heavy mechs, heavy and assault mechs. I have a couple medium mech and heavy assault mechs backing me up that are mobile, that are powerful, that have excellent long range weaponry. Then I'm just going to go, okay, well, if you're going to snipe at me from the buildings, I'm just going to go in and start knocking buildings down. Because I'm a Jade Falcon. I don't care about civilians. What do civilians mean to me? They told me to save the planet, not save the city. So... So yeah, I'm not sure what this characterization of these Jade Falcons are. Like if it comes out later in the book that these were kind of like moderate guys that were not down with the whole Mongol doctrine, kill them all, let God sort them thing that Malvina Hazen had going on, that's one thing. But so far we're not given that indication. Like these guys are diehards. These guys are down to their last bullets, and they're still hanging on by the nails on their hands, the skin of their teeth. So I don't. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, this is not good. This is not fantastic. I don't enjoy this. Like, tactically, this makes no goddamn sense. Just from this, just the interplay of the characters so far, the flippant, non-existent, I don't plan for shit attitude of the main character, Hank Mallory. Like, this is just not good. It's not good writing. It wouldn't be good writing if it wasn't BattleTech. It would still be bad writing. Like, replace mechs with tanks, replace mechs with infantry, replace mechs with anything, and this just makes no goddamn sense. So, sorry, let's take a deep breath. But yeah, so that's been Ghosts of Timkovichi, and we had our slight technical problem because I forgot to add myself to the stage on StreamYard. Whoopsie daisy. But we got that solved, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this content and whatnot. So if you guys yeah, exactly. Battle tactics are racist. You're talking about like BattleTech and like maneuver, and like you're talking about very patriarchal structures of power that are male dominated in the military, and I think that's really racist and misogynist, and I think you need to check your privilege because you're a white man. Like, god damn, dude, like what are we doing? Who are these people? Who gave this guy who read this and was like, oh, the spirit of the bard is upon Brian Young. We must have him churn out as many fucking books as possible of the most terribly mid fiction ever. Like, I'm still like struggling here, and I hope that, because I know Anthony Scroggins dips on my page, the lead. Yeah, Bloodsy, my pronouns are she, them. Let me she them titties. Couldn't even keep a straight face for that. But like, and so Brian Young, he's come on my page a couple of times. Let's see, Rusty Zimmerman, he's a recurring character. He's like Russell Zimmerman at this point. He's like Kramer from Seinfeld. He just like busts into my fucking page going, "Hello, Jerry. Hello, Banzai." It's like the big crowd swell. It's like, let's see, big crowd swell. Hey, everybody! It's TV's Rusty Trombone. Yay! So. That's pretty good. Transparent. But Anthony Scroggins, he said I have wacky conspiracy theories. And Russell Zimmerman, he's like, you're not worth engaging with, and he continues to engage with me. Brian Young hasn't appeared for a really long time. I think he kind of learned his lesson after sticking his hand in the bear trap a couple of times. Craig Reed Jr., he actually popped in and he actually made an informative post that was not rude to me at all. So that's kind of cool. So I wonder if I can find that. Let's see. Let's see. I love how Facebook doesn't show me all my comments on a post by default. That's the best. That's my favorite. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, so Craig Reed Jr., he was like, when the same person is speaking is talking more than one paragraph at a time, the ending quote at the end of the paragraph is left off. So the example is correct, as it is the same person speaking with multiple paragraphs. It is not the way that I write, but the sample is correct. So even he's like, this is some MLA bullshit, APA for life. And then I said, thank you. You're like the first CGL author who hasn't deigned to speak down to me. Cheers. So, but yeah, so shout out Craig Reed Jr. He's my dog, I guess. We just become best friends. So pretty hilarious. Pretty hilarious all in all. Good Lord. You guys are crazy, by the way. I'm also, kind of, gratitude post. We are at 2,500 and some change followers now. So I just wanted to thank you guys, everybody that comes to my page and engages and talks to me and gives your thoughts and opinions. Some dumbass was like, "You're a bigot, Mr. Dr. Banzai." And I'm like, proof? And he's like, well, you're just a bigot. It's like, okay, well, you set the goalpost, so I'm asking you to, put it through the uprights, my guy. Find a post on my page where I've been, racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobic. Like you do that, and I will put it on blast. That's fine. Didn't do that. Instead, oh well, you allow people on your page that are like that. I'm like, my gamer, I am not responsible for all the actions of my community. Like, I'm just not. That's insane to think that I am. So I want to thank you guys for being great fans. I like you guys. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to do this and inspiring me to do this kind of work and having a great time. I love you guys very much. I'm going to sign off now. If you guys want to, my Ko-Fi link is in the description. If you guys have any questions for me, just DM me, talk to me. Open book pretty much. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. Everybody who shows up to these streams and watches me. Please I hate to do the call to action thing because I think it's fucking cringe, but like, share, subscribe if you think this is fun, if you think this is funny, if you think this is valuable, if you think me, blathering on for an hour and some change is amusing. Thank you guys very much. I hope you guys have a great night.